Portugal has been one of the most talked about residency by investment programs in the world today for quite some time, and for a good reason. It became very famous because it offered something almost no other program did. It offered you the opportunity to become a European citizen without ever having to relocate. But in May 2026, and for a lot of investors, the citizenship path doubled from 5 years to 10. So naturally, a lot of people started asking, is Portugal dead? But that's not the right way to think about it. The right question to ask is, if I am committing 10 years or over 10 years to a program, do I still trust Portugal? And what happened to the thousands of investors who were in the pipeline or in the system after the rules changed? In this video, I'm not just going to explain what changed. I'm going to help you answer a much more important question. Is Portugal Golden Visa still a good and a trusted long-term strategy? My name is Mustafa, and on this channel, I help people think about global mobility, residency, and citizenship by investment, and how to actually build a strategy around them. So if you want to understand what's happening in this space and think about it for your own situation, then subscribe. This is exactly what this channel covers. So let me actually start fresh and cover the Portugal Golden Visa as it stands today, because there is a lot of information that's circulating that's outdated. So let's start with that. When it comes to the investment, you can either donate 250,000 euros to a cultural or artistic foundation, or you invest 500,000 euros, which could be in an approved investment fund, or a scientific research, or in the incorporation of a company, or you do a capital increase to an existing company. Since the real estate option ended in 2023, the 500,000 investment into a qualifying fund has become now the popular choice, and for a good reason. It's a much more straightforward way of investing than an investment into scientific research or into an existing business, or even starting up a business. You simply invest the money in a fund, and near the term of that fund, you simply exit with your money, subject to the performance of that fund. Now, when it comes to processing applications, there used to be significant delays in the government to process your application. It used to range from 2 to 4 years so that you can get your residency card. Nowadays, this has gone down a lot, and it ranges from 1 to 1.5 years. You only need to personally visit the country once in order to do your biometrics. And after you receive your residency, it will be renewable every 2 years. The only requirement under the Golden Visa program is that you need to visit the country for at least 14 days every 2-year period. And after 5 years of getting your residency, you'd be eligible to apply for the permanent residence, and you'd also be able to sell your investment. And this part of the law has not changed. The only change comes later in the eligibility for, or the path towards, citizenship. So in order to be able to apply for the permanent residence, you need to show some sort of accommodation, which can be established through a lease agreement. You will also need to show an A2 level proficiency in the Portuguese language. Among other things, you'll be able to submit your application, and the processing timeline right now is around 3 to 6 months, so that you can get your permanent residency, which is usually valid for 5 years. Now, when it comes to eligibility for citizenship, that timeline has doubled for non-EU nationals from 5 years to 10. When it comes to EU nationals and citizens of Portuguese-speaking countries, it has now gone up to 7 years. The other change which was also put into the law, especially with regards to eligibility for citizenship, is proof of cultural understanding. Now, as of right now, the government has not yet determined a mechanism for people to prove that, but that remains to be seen. So you'd need to pass that proof, you need to pass the 10-year mark, you need to show proficiency in the Portuguese language and be at least at an A2 level, then you'd be able to apply for citizenship. Unfortunately, also, the timeline for processing applications of citizenships is very long. Right now, it ranges from 2 to 3 years. So when a government changes its program's rules, the first thing I want to know is not whether those rules became worse or better. The more pertinent question is, how did the government treat those that were already in the system? Because that answer alone tells you something that no marketing brochure ever will. So let me tell you who's actually affected. If you are anywhere in the system today, whether you have already submitted your Golden Visa application, whether you currently have your residency card, but you have not yet applied for citizenship, unfortunately, all of those people will fall under the 10-year law. Only the people who had submitted their application for citizenship before the 18th of May 2026 will be protected under the old rule of 5 years. So this has gotten a lot of people to feel like they're mistreated or this is genuinely unfair for them. And it's not because of anything they did, it's because that there's been significant delays in processing from the government. And the bigger issue is that people at the time of their investment were being sold a program that they would be eligible to apply for citizenship after 5 years. Now, those same people are being told that it's going to be 10 years. Now, as a result of that, a consortium of 9 separate Portuguese firms have filed an official complaint on behalf of more than 1,000 investors, saying that those people deserve and qualify to be treated under the 5-year timeline. This prompted the Portuguese Minister of the President to come out and say that any consultant who promised a client that they would get a Portuguese passport through investment in the Golden Visa had deceived them. But the lawyers representing these investors are not actually disputing that statement. Their argument is completely different. They're saying that for decades, the Portuguese government has been deploying a certain framework, and on that basis, they have been promoting it. And that framework entailed that under specific requirements, if achieved, the people in this program would be able to apply for citizenship. And accordingly, people paid thousands and thousands of euros and committed funds to that program. But you cannot just come up one day and change this entire system and change the law, especially for those that are currently in the system and subscribed on the basis of a 5-year eligibility for citizenship. Now, I want you to zoom out for a second, because what I'm going to say really matters and it's important in your whole risk assessment. Now, Malta had a citizenship program before. You can just invest the money, you never had to relocate, and you get a Maltese passport. That program was stopped in 2025 in April, as ruled by the European Court of Justice. Cyprus also ran a citizenship by investment program, which was stopped in 2020 following a scandal, and more than 300 passports were later revoked. Portugal is now genuinely one of the last standing European programs that offers anything close to no relocation and a path towards EU citizenship. And maybe that new law is the reason why this program is still standing. Of course, people who are selling the program might come and tell you that the law just changed and it's very unlikely that it will change anytime again in the future. And it took a very long time for this one to be brought up. And to those people I say, how do you know? How can you guarantee, especially in light of the EU scrutiny that's been happening and we've been seeing in many other programs? Others might tell you, okay, even if a change happens, you're immune because you're now subscribing based on the current law, and any change that will come will be applied to future applicants. And to those people I say, what happened to the current applicants in the system when the new law came into effect? It was already applied to them. So you're not really immune from any changes that happen into the future. You simply don't know. The reality is that no one can guarantee you anything today, especially when we're talking about a decade into the future. And those who are either lying to you or trying to sell you. So after understanding everything about the program, the offering today, what are the key changes to the program, what are the risks that we've seen, so all of this begs the question, does this still make sense? And if yes, for who? So here's how I would start to look at it. Just as we looked at the risks, we understood what they are, and we analyzed them, it's also important to understand what are the unique selling points of this program. And for me, there are two. The first one is, this is the only program available in the market today that can offer you a path towards EU citizenship without having to relocate there, albeit after at least 13 to 15 years. This is when you'll realistically get the citizenship. The second thing, it's also the only program in Europe where after 5 years, you'll be able to apply for a PR without having to live there, and you'll also be able to get your investment back. So does that mean that those two benefits will always be there? No, it doesn't, and no one can guarantee that. But if you remove those two benefits, then the program starts to look like every other European program available in the market today, where you make an investment, and as long as you hold that investment, you will continue to have residency. Be it Greece, be it Italy, there are a lot of similar programs like this today on the market. Now we go back to you, because you are the centerpiece of all of this. It's about your goals, it's about your timelines, and those are the most important questions to ask. I cannot really give you a blanket answer because it really depends on you. And even if I were to assume that all your goals are the same, your risk tolerance might not be. But what I could say is that if you're a person who is not willing to relocate and cannot simply do that today or anytime soon, but wants a way towards EU citizenship, this is the only option that is available today in Europe. Yes, it might change in the future. Some of the benefits or unique selling points of this program might go away, and if that happens, then it will become like any of the other programs available in Europe. But you simply cannot assess that today. It depends on you, your timeline, your goal, your risk aversion. But if your goal is EU citizenship without relocation, this is really your only option available in the market today. And yes, it is risky, it is long, but it's the only option that you have. But if you are the sort of person who just cares more about Schengen access or having a residency somewhere in Europe in a particular country, then sure, Portugal can work as well, but so can a lot of other programs that are available today in the market. A lot of them can give you fast processing. A lot of them would have a real estate option if that is a preference of yours. So if citizenship is not really the goal, and the goal is simple residency, then you have a lot of options on the market. And if you actually want permanent residency from day one, a lot of the programs also offer that. And as long as you keep holding your investment, you'll always have permanent residency in that country. If you come and tell me, no, I'm actually willing to relocate to Europe, then the starting point would be completely different. The first things I would ask you would be, what is the country that you want to live in? What is the sort of lifestyle that you would envision having? What is the tax system that you'd be most comfortable in and that would work well for your situation? Because at the end of the day, this is a commitment, a long-term commitment for you to get to citizenship or for you to live a comfortable life. So there are a lot of programs out there today in Europe that can actually offer you residency. And you can qualify for them in a number of ways, not just by investment. And those countries have much shorter timelines to citizenship eligibility than Portugal. So you need to be honest with yourself and understand what it is that you need before you spend any single euro. Now, I would say that the Portugal Golden Visa program didn't die, but I would say it's become a different product. Now, for some people, it's the wrong product, but for others, it's still one of the most unique residency by investment programs in Europe. So I would say the most important thing is to understand what it is that you want and what your goals are. This should be your starting point. And as I always say, strategy before solution. And if this was useful to you, then subscribe. This channel is about helping people like you think about global mobility, residencies, and citizenship by investment. See you in the next video.